Hello Reformers and welcome back to Mountain Blade Warband. Now when we left off, we were attempting to take the Death Castle, and this is the Death Castle according to some of you. Now I can see why you'd say that, because we did actually manage to fail in the previous episode to take it, but only by a slight margin, I think we probably would have been able to take it, maybe. It's just the main problem is with it is that it has such an incredible distance between your reinforcements. Oh no, Lord Drooly, where's he going again? I was just like, oh yes, I'm just gonna wait here for a little bit of time, see if he comes back, and he managed to come back and now he's gone again. Why is he doing? He's having a feast. Did you see that? Did you see that message? That is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. I cannot believe you, Lord Drooly. I cannot believe it. Okay, well, doesn't matter so much because we do have some pretty elite units and hopefully they'll do a good enough job and hopefully win this for us. Now, of course, they have about 100 units in here. We have exactly 100 units. So it's going to be a pretty even fight, with the exception of that they have a massive advantage. Obviously, that's going to be a bit of a difficulty. And obviously, considering now we have no ranged units to speak of, with the exception of Jeremus. And yeah, me facing my back to the archers, definitely a good idea. Now, I suppose the one cool thing about this siege layout, with the exception of all the other drawbacks, the one good thing is the fact that the ladder isn't that bad and the bottleneck is, well, shall we say, doable. And oh yeah, I should also mention, if you hear any sounds in the background, that might be due to the construction work that is currently going on around me. It's fantastic, absolutely. Can you tell I'm being sarcastic? Yes, I hope so. Anyway, let's try and murder them. Yes, not the construction men, but you would want to sometimes. No. We're going to talk about the Sarranids here. We're talking about the Sarranids, of course. Anyway, let's go. Come on. Could you, are you joking? Is this guy literally joking? He was literally like wedging me between the battlements or something like that. It was absolutely hilarious. Okay, well anyway, we're going to just take out these Master Archers real quick. Come on. Take him down. Take him down. Really? You survived? Wow. Okay. Well, never mind. They seem to only have Sarranid guards and Sarranid horsemen remaining, which is pretty nice. I was a bit worried about having to deal with Mamluks, but I would expect the Mamluks are going to come. Oh, yeah, that happened as well in the previous episode. Yes, but anyway, I expect the Mamluks to come relatively soon, so we need to be a bit careful. Oh, yes, take that, you guard. Yes, that's my best insult ever right there. Just gonna call him by his class. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so we're having a couple of difficulties here, but thankfully because they are archers, yes, thankfully because they are archers, they're not particularly good at melee combat, and if I stay still so that they can't get any speed on their thrusts or anything like that, then I take 0 damage by the looks of things. So obviously momentum has a very, very big effect on how much damage you take and how much damage you deal as well. So yeah, I mean, most people are gonna think, yeah, if you're moving really fast on a horse, then obviously the speed bonus is gonna make a difference. Well, duh, you know, obviously it's gonna make a difference. But if you think about the opposite effect, it's relatively similar to how if you're moving on a horse and you get hit by a spear or by some kind of melee weapon, then the speed is gonna work against you, and it's exactly the same, albeit on a much lesser scale. It's the exact same when you're on foot and you're actually playing as an infantry, because when you move, your momentum carries you into the blades, or in this case into the clubs as well, of your opponent, and that is obviously going to affect how much damage you take. And so sometimes it pays to just stay still, even though you're not going to be doing that much damage either. But you know, you do need to just, you know, you need to kind of stay alive. Staying alive is obviously the way to go. But of course, if you are in a really, really bad position where you're trapped against a wall in a close quarters combat situation, then obviously you are well, you're probably done. You're probably done. But, you know, you can try your best, and, you know, this is literally just, you know, a tip for those people that may not be as good as good at fighting, just like I am. You know, I'm not really very good when it comes to fighting. I mean, you know, I'm decent, but, you know, a lot of people are decent. So, yeah, anyway, let's try and... Oh, no. Come on. Are you serious? Look at where the arrow actually goes. I don't know whether you can actually see the arrow on the video, but it's going right over him, which is hilarious. I don't know why. Don't know why it's going right over him. So I'm going to modify my shooting arc a little bit here, and then hit a friendly troop in the head, because that's what we do. That is what we do. We gave him a new headshot. We're not a photographer, but we gave him a new headshot anyway. And I mean, let's just be honest. All of our Khergit Lancers, they could be models, right? I mean, they literally could be models, easily. Just look at this face. Look at that face right there. Isn't that a face that only a mother could love? Yeah, I'm just kidding. But anyway, 13 renown. Actually not too bad in terms of our renown reward right there. I mean, you know, goodness knows we actually need a much, much bigger company. Thank you very much. Alright, so yeah, obviously we did lose quite a few, but that is to be expected. I actually really love using the Khergit Lancer units. I mean, it makes me kind of regret a little bit not going with the Khergits to begin with, because it seems like the Khergits are really quite good. I mean, obviously with the exception of their siege capabilities, but even then, we're using Khergit Lancers. I suppose if you think about their horse archers as well, their horse archers are not particularly good at defending because they don't have as much power draw as a fully fledged archer, like for example the Vaegier marksman or something. So that is obviously going to make a bit of a difference in regards to how much, you know, damage they're able to deal and how well they're able to defend. So, oh well, never mind. Okay, so this is going to go to, I think this is actually going to go to Beheshtur, because Urumuda has one town. But, oh, I don't know. I guess we'll just give it to Urumuda, why not? And Tarchius is not liking us one bit. We're going to have to appease him in some way. Maybe give him a couple more villages or something like that. That's probably the way to go. Anyway, here's Darien Castle. It's been, oh my, it's been garrisoned with some extremely bad units. Isn't that always the way of things? Okay, well, if Lord Druli comes back here, there will be no forgiveness. Unless he brings donuts. In which case, I'll think about it. But anyway, yeah, we're almost done here. We are almost done at Darien Castle. I'm not entirely sure where to go next, to be honest. I mean, this is the point in the game where sieges become the norm. And yeah, that's kind of a bit of a problem for, you know, a series on YouTube, because when you are wanting to create a series, you want it to be as entertaining as possible, don't you? So sieges, yeah, they can sometimes not be very entertaining at all, you know, because sometimes they are just standard, you know, sort of tank and spank sort of stuff, if, you know, if you excuse the phrase, because obviously it's MMO RPG terminology, but the point is, it's just kind of standard, and, you know, having a bit of a standard siege, that's not really exciting, but Darien Castle, that was nice. I like Darien Castle. That was a pretty cool, oh my. That was a pretty cool siege. Anyway, I was a bit shocked by the blatant archer supremacy in Amarad, and I am probably not going to be taking that anytime soon. I mean, if you take a look at the 79? Are you serious? 79 master archers. I don't even know. I don't even know who could take that. I mean, maybe if I recruited a bunch of Vaegiers and then leveled them up to Vaegier marksmen, they could probably fight against those, but saying that, I don't actually know whether that would even be possible. Wow, that's crazy. That's real crazy. Okay, so yeah, we are still getting a huge amount of money. I still need to buy some new weapons for our companions, because obviously they're you know, they're not using the best weapons. I mean, if we just take an example here and look at Lezelit, he's using a Nomad Saber. Now, the Nomad Saber is not actually that bad. It's just not really good. Like, for example, we have the Iron War Axe here. It deals 38 cutting damage, and it has a bonus against shields. Obviously, the weapon reach is a little bit lacking, but for the most part, everything else is reasonable. And now the Nomad Saber has much less damage and about 20 more weapon reach. Well, it actually has almost 30 more weapon reach, actually. But the point is If you want something with more damage, then obviously an axe is definitely the way to go, but I'm not entirely sure whether the Nomad Saber is actually pretty decent. You know, it's a decent all-around weapon that can do the job, and that's basically it. But I think what I'd like to do is probably give all of our companions military cleavers, if I can, because the military cleavers... You don't need to tell me. I don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell you. Military cleavers are fantastic. I absolutely love those. I'd love to be able to find one, but they are relatively expensive, and as far as I'm aware, they seem quite rare for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. But in the last series, you know, in the original native series, Barney, King Barney himself, the original one, the OG. Yes, the OG. Anyway, yes, the original Barney, he used a military cleaver towards the end of his campaign, and I was extremely impressed with it. I was able to slaughter basically anyone. It was really good. It was really, really fun, really fantastic weapon to use, and hopefully we'll be able to do something similar with this version of Barney. So I'm going to try and shoot a bunch. These guys are annoying, and yeah, hopefully I'll be able to kill this guy before he actually shoots me as well. I am taking a little bit of damage here, so I've got to be a bit careful. Nice headshot. Give me those headshots. Give me that proficiency, please. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so the more we can do this, the better, I suppose, but yeah, it's really a bit of a drag, isn't it? It's a bit of a drag having to do this. Okay, well, yeah, can I go up the ladder yet? No, I can't go up the ladder yet. Oh, well, never mind. Now, here's the thing. I personally don't feel like Khergit Lancers are expendable, but they are extremely quick to level up. So, if you think about it, you know, they're not actually, you know, they're not actually that bad. I mean, they technically can be expended pretty easily, and then you can level them up without too much effort at all. And they also are relatively cheap to level up as well. So if you're having, you know, monetary issues of any kind, then leveling up some Khergit Lancers is probably the cheapest way to get high-tier cavalry, or should I say mid to high-tier cavalry, because obviously some people may not classify the Khergit Lancer as a high-tier unit, but it really depends. I mean, obviously they have horses, because they are cavalry, they are part of the Khergits. They have lancers some of the time. They have pretty decent weapons for the most part, and their armor is probably the one thing that may let them down, as far as I'm aware. I mean, obviously I haven't actually checked 100% what kind of armor they're using, but it's kind of nice to know that you have a bit of a fallback, you know. So for example, if you're part of the Swadians and you have a bit of a problem and you get captured or something, and then you lose all of your units, and let's just say that you're a mercenary or whatever, and then you're just like, okay, I lost 2,000 of my dinars, you know, when I was getting taken prisoner. You know, I lost my horse and I lost all these other things. Wouldn't that be awful? Yeah, that's awful. We've all experienced that. If you've played Warband, you know, we've all experienced getting taken prisoner at one point or another. And then you think to yourself, okay, I've got 1,000 dinars remaining. That's all I've got left. What can I do? Well, leveling up some Swadian Knights, that might still pay off dividends as I die. Yeah, obviously me talking does take a little bit of concentration from me, but I didn't think that I was going to get absolutely mauled by some Mamluks there. Well, let's actually just take a look. Yeah, it seems like we get killed every single time whenever there's a reinforcement wave from the opponent. So it seems like I need to definitely modify my, shall we say, my offensive stance when we are receiving enemy reinforcements. That's probably a good idea. So I'm going to keep that in, you know, sort of like the background of my mind whenever we're doing these kinds of sieges. And I think I'm actually going to head back to Nara, and then we'll very, very quickly head back to Bardoc Castle. And I'm not going to talk all the time along the way here. I'm just going to finish up the thought that I had. You only have 1,000 dinars left, and you think to yourself, okay, so Swadian Knights, yeah, I could probably get a couple more of those, but they're going to take a long time to level up. So what can I do? And also, just bear in mind that Swadian Knights do cost 120 dinars to level up for one, and Khergit Lancers cost, I think it's 40? I think it's 40 to level them up. So that's absolutely fantastic. That's an amazing bargain. And so what you do is you go over to Khergit lands and you just recruit a bunch of Khergit tribesmen, and then you just go to town and you just level those guys up in no time. You can really level them up in literally 2 or 3 days. It's really quite amazing. Obviously dependent on how many bandits you fight and so on and so forth, but Swadian Knights, they're much more difficult to level up. But if you want some cheap people to get back on your feet, this is just kind of like a beginner intermediate sort of tip there, then, you know, Khergit Lancers might be the way to go. Anyway, there you go. There we have Lord Akadan there. He has 49 Khergit Lancers. We like him a lot, don't we? He's actually a really, really cool vassal. I don't know where Lord Play is, by the way. Seems to have disappeared. Alright, so I've arrived in Nara, and I felt like it was quite important to show you what my garrison is currently looking like, because I just have basically the most higgledy-piggledy garrison imaginable, because I've basically put every single unit that I've ever acquired in here since acquiring Nara, because of course, this is our only fief. This is our only fief. If we lose this, then I don't know what we're going to do. But anyway, as you can see, we have some Swadian man-at-arms and Swadian knights. I was actually coming to get some of those to supplement our army, but I was then thinking maybe I should go for some Khergit horsemen still. And we have another 14 of these. And as you can see, Khergit lancers are only 40 dinars. It's crazy. It's crazy how good they are. And I'm actually kind of surprised because I was underestimating the Khergits in general for the entirety of the time that I've been doing this series, which is kind of weird, right? Because you think to yourself, Khergit Lancers, they're not that good, but then as we were attempting to take their fiefs and things like that, I was consistently seeing that they were actually really quite capable of doing the dirty work of basically anyone. So they're pretty decent, you know, they're decent. They're not fantastic, you know, they're not going to beat a Nord Huskarl in any day of the week, but you know, I think they're pretty good. So they've got my vote of confidence for now. And let's see if we're able to take Bardoc Castle. Alright, so we've returned to Bardoc Castle, and the main problem that we're going to see here is the fact that the archers are now in a much more concentrated, sort of critical mass situation here. So we are going to have some problems. And that's an understatement. That is an understatement, if ever I heard one. Yes. Anyway, Jeremus, do your thing. Yes, Jeremus is getting the first kill. Fantastic. We certainly need his assistance as much as possible. I'm going to tell the archers to hold position back here. I have purposefully not gotten any archers whatsoever because, you know why? If we sacrifice a couple of cavalry, sacrifice a couple of infantry to get on the battlements, then the archers have nothing against us. They cannot stop us if we get onto those battlements because they just don't have the melee capability. They don't have any kind of skill in terms of melee. They can obviously do damage, but for the most part, their ranged capability is the main reason why you would want them around. And in specifics, the Saranid archers are going to be a lot worse in melee than say the Bardocs because they have shields, and the Nords because they just have much more power strike and all that sort of thing. So sacrificing a couple of cavalry units to be able to get into the garrison here, I think that is a worthwhile price to pay. And I say that before we lose. Yeah, because you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen? As soon as I've said that, now what's going to happen is we're going to lose this and we're not going to even get in to the battlements. Wouldn't that be an absolute travesty? Yeah, that would be pretty awful. So I'm going to try and deal as much damage as I can. Oh yeah, nice headshot right there. Did you see that? That arrow just went swoop into his face. And I'm still surprised that he's not dead. Okay, come on. I've got 2 arrows to finish this guy off. What? He survived again? Are you serious? I was like, yeah, that's a headshot. And then when I got the headshot, 18 damage. I mean, how much damage did we deal to him? He must be at an extremely low HP level right now. Wow, that's kind of unfortunate. Okay, so how many units have we lost so far? Okay, so we've lost about 36. And we are getting more reinforcements. I'm a bit worried about this, actually. A little bit worried. Oh yeah, I should also mention that some of you did say that the Swadian Knights, they have slower weapons and longer weapons, because obviously they are meant to be used on the fields of battle, there's no disputing that, of course. But I just kind of thought that considering they have, you know, heavy armor and they have shields that are really good and all that sort of thing, that they should be a little bit better than the Kojit Lancers, but obviously the Kojit Lancers have much better weapons for using in sieges, so it's probably a foregone conclusion that they are going to be a little bit better in that case. But I was just a bit surprised, that's all, because you automatically think, everyone thinks that the Swadian Knight is the paramount cavalry unit. You know, it is just insane. It's a really, really good unit. Only followed closely by the Saranid Mamluk, and, you know, then obviously you just want to, you know, you want to think to yourself, okay, so Swadian Knights, they're really good in field battles, right? So they must be good in sieges. You know, that's my thought on it anyway, but apparently not. Apparently they're not as good, which is a shame, because I actually did think they were. But anyway, let's kill those, and now I'm going to have to do quite a lot of work in the back here, because I need to make sure I don't get killed by any of these Mamluks, and I also have to make sure I don't get cornered by anyone that is attempting to come up the stairs. And, oh, this guy, literally, he's literally the only one that has dealt damage to me so far. Okay, I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna take you out. Yeah, there we go. That's what you get. Yeah, that is what you get. Okay, well, anyway, we are done. I think we are done. Yes, there's only 9 units remaining, and if we lose any more from now on, I'm gonna be livid. I'm gonna be livid. Yeah, you fall off there. What? He didn't die? He didn't die from that falling damage? I can't believe that. That's preposterous. No, it's not preposterous. I think it's pretty accurate, I guess. I mean, if he was in high HP anyway, which he probably was, considering they were in a really, really weird position. But yeah, anyway, I think we're good. I think we are good. Okay, come on, Swadian Knight. Yeah, they're using great swords as well, or whatever they're using right there. So obviously that's a bit of a problem when you're fighting in close quarter situations. They have very, very long weapons, which makes them extremely good on the fields of battle, which is exactly the reason why you want to use them. But obviously, you know, my feeling was that they were just going to be good all around. But yeah, apparently there are drawbacks to them. So anyway, we lost 17 Kojit Lancers, which, as I say, they are replaceable, and they're not expendable by any means, but in comparison to Swadian Knights, they certainly are. Anyway, we can get some Desert Bandits there. Not really necessary. I could take one of these things, but do I want to? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I guess I'll take one just in case. Maybe I'll use it and have a little bit of fun with it. Who knows? Okay, so I could give this to Lord Akadan, but I think he has enough, and he has about 150 units as it is, so I'm going to give this to Lord Beheshtur instead. Tarchius is absolutely hating that. Quite a lot, actually, so I'm going to have to give him a couple of villages, and hopefully we'll get him to about 20 or so relation or something like that from that, because every time you give him a village, he gains 10 relation, so it's pretty amazing. Anyway, there's Bardoc Castle. That has been taken. There are only 2 towns in the area remaining. Amarad, I think, is going to be almost impossible for us to take, and because they have food for 100 days, I don't know how I'm going to take it. Any suggestions are welcome, by the way. Any suggestions are welcome for taking Amarad. Not entirely sure how to do it. Maybe we'll break the rule of me having to use only factions that I've, you know, assimilated into my own culture, but, you know, obviously that would mean that I have to get some Nords, because getting Nords and getting Nord Huskarls, that's probably the only way I'm going to actually prevail there, maybe. It's a bit frightening, isn't it? 79? Didn't they have 79 Master Archers? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.